Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode with me, Jurassics. Hope you're well. I've got something really fantastic that I want to show you today. Something I've been working on in the background for the last few weeks, and I am so thrilled to now be able to show you what it's all about. And I hope you'll do me a favor and show some of your favorite YouTubers this video, and we can potentially get it onto a multiplayer server, and people or other people can enjoy this as well. So let's go have a look. So what I've been working on is a shooting alley. So this is the prototype to make sure that we can get each part working and doing what it should be doing throughout the whole process. So we've got reset buttons, we've got a timer, we've got various different parts, counters, modules, etc. We'll be doing a 10 module design of the target block, so this one here later on, and we'll be walking through each step in a bit more detail. But basically what we're doing is we're able to come down here and just shoot away at these. And there we go, we've done 3, we've got a counter up here, and we've got light showing that we've hit all 3 of these, and we can also see how many or how long it took us with the items in there. And then just to reset it, we hit this button here, all of the blocks retract, our counter resets, and also our items are reset and sent back up here ready for the next game. So really took me quite a while to bring this all together. Had quite a few trials and tribulations through the journey, but I'm so ecstatic to be able to show you this because I do think it's a really cool design. But let's find out a bit more about what this block is here, because if you're like me, you haven't used it very often, and now is a great time to find out more. So to craft the target block, all it is 1 hay bale, which is 9 wheat, filling up the crafting 3x3, and then we have 4 pieces of redstone around it, and then that will create our target block. So quite an easy design, not too expensive, which obviously is great, and this can be done pretty early on a multiplayer world. But what we need to know is how does this output information, and how can we use that with our modules over here. A target block can be hit with any thrown item or fired item, so can use a snowball, can use a crossbow, can use a bow, trident, or even a egg, which is pretty cool. But for me, the best tool, or the tool that we're going to use in my opinion, is the bow. Just because it's got a quick reload, it's easy to use and operate. But how do we work out what this does? So it outputs a redstone signal depending on where you hit it on the block. So if we try and hit it as close to this corner, oh, that was pretty good, we only get 2, whereas if we hit it as close to the middle as possible, we get a lot more. So the closer we hit it to the center, the more redstone output is output. So that can be used to make this game easier or harder depending on how you want to do it. So what I've got set up here is a target block with a comparator coming out into another block with a light, and then we also have another item which is going into the comparator, and that will just sort of take off or make us have to hit closer to the center depending on what is being read here. So here we've got a full composter. I think if we hit it about or just near the red line, or even the red line, there we go, it will activate. So any target block with this setup, you'll have to hit on the red line, whereas if you've got a cauldron with water, maybe don't have to be so accurate. Or you can use a hopper, which you can change the amount of items you have in it. So in this one we have 3, so we have to hit about there, I believe, whereas here if we try and hit in the same place, it won't work, so we have to go closer. There we go, that one works. And then this one, this is the hardest, so we have to go as close to the center as possible, and even then, there we go, we have to get almost perfect shot every single time. So that's how we can make the game harder, and quite frankly, I quite like the idea of using a hopper. Potentially if someone's really good at redstone, they might be able to work out a solution, or if they've got a scenario where it works, you can change the difficulty of the game by adding or removing items from a hopper, which could be quite fun and exciting. Once we'd understood how the target block works, had to come up with a contraption that would work in terms of when I hit the target block, it gets covered up and it also remains locked. So this is one of the earlier designs. So if we do that and then hit the block, it works and it locks it for until this is released. But I just didn't feel this worked in quite the same way as I was hoping it would. So continue to look at a few different ideas and designs. So again, over here, this is some failed work. This one I felt had a good chance, but just wasn't getting the result that I wanted to. Needed to spend a bit more time. And again, on this one, another failed attempt. But this design here was where it really started to come together. So if we hit the block up here, outputs, and then we can reset it by pressing that button there. The only problem was with this red torch right in the middle of this contraption, it might be difficult to get it without having any other redstone lines impact it. So actually what I came up with was this design here. So reset area is down here. So if we fire at this, try and get it quite close, there we go, everything kicks in pretty quickly, and then we can just reset this button here, which is a lot easier to get a redstone line to. So this works really well. It also allows us to take a read off the back with a redstone line, so that can go up to our counter system. So that is the design that I've gone with. So let me show you how this is built and how we make this work. To build one of these modules, what we'll need to do is place a target block wherever we decide to put it in our world. So with the design later, we'll have them spotted about so that they're different heights, different distances away. You know, maybe a block is slightly obscuring it. And then coming off of our target block, we're going to put 2 comparators. So we'll have one coming off the target block and one going into the comparator that is reading the target block. And then we'll put a hopper there for us to make this easier or harder depending on what you want to do. And then coming off the comparator that is reading the target block, we'll put a dropper with a hopper going into it. And then what we'll do is we'll put an item in there so that when the target block gets activated, it will come into the hopper. But what we need to do is make it stay in the hopper. So we're going to put a redstone torch below it, and that means as soon as it comes into the hopper, it will then get stuck there until we change this to an unpowered torch. Then coming off the hopper to let us know that there's an item in there, we're going to put a comparator with a redstone dust going into a block. So that goes like that, and then the torch at the back. And then what we'll do is just here we'll put the redstone dust, which is then going to tell us whether there's a item in the hopper. And then up here we're going to put a redstone torch with a wall block or a building block on top, and then this will run along to the sticky piston. So I just need to grab a couple of blocks. So then what we'll do now is put our slabs across across to there, and then on top we want that going into a block with our sticky piston facing down, and then we'll put our blocks there, and then the redstone will come all the way across here. So currently it's not activated, and then if we want to put a redstone lamp on top of this one, say, we can just put it like that. So when this redstone is activated, it activates the piston as well as the redstone lamp. And then just so that for our counter system, we put another building block there with a redstone torch on the back. So if we now grab a bow, we can test this system out, and boom, there we go, simple as. So we've hit the target, the sand has jumped over here, or whatever item you use, that's been locked by our redstone torch here, which is then this comparator is then reading this hopper and doing this jazz here. So this is sending our redstone pulse out to our counter, and then this is sending a redstone signal to the piston and also to the lamp if you choose to use it. So that's how each module is built, and you can move things around. So you can put the hopper on this side, you can have the piston coming in from every angle. Just means you've got to move some of this wire around. So if we run over here, you can see this one is coming from the side, so we've got our hopper here, and then we've just moved our redstone line around in a different way. This one's coming from underneath, so it goes underneath it all. Just makes it a little bit more difficult depending on how your other modules are. And then this is the one we've just built. So that's one module. There's 3 different ones with different angles with the piston, but all work really well and have been fantastic through testing. So that's the design. So let's get on to building a full 10 module design. Before we go any further, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe and comment down below. It really does help me out, and I do see a uptake in the videos that I do when you guys do that, so really is appreciated. But let's just get on with the rest of the video, because I'm sure you want to see the final result, because I am ecstatic. We now have our 10 modules connected all together to our scoring loop at the back on the yellow wall there. Need to put that or the scoreboard up at the top here so that we can keep track of how many targets we have hit. Little concerned about the reset mechanism on each of these modules and just trying to fit in the redstone in between all of this, but I think we'll be able to get to each and every module. It might just be a bit fiddly at times, but really happy with how this is coming, and look forward to showing you the next clip now once we've got our scoreboard in. And if by magic we now have our counter in, so we've got it linked up at the back here to each of the modules, that goes into this dropper that pulses an item up, and then we have our light here. So that will sort of sequentially, I guess is the right term, go up. So once you get to this end, you know you've got all of the targets. They're not so this last one over here is not linked to the last one here. It's just a counter working its way up. So once you've got 10 of the targets, that will be full. And obviously as you hit each target, these yellow wool, which will be replaced with decorative block at some point, they will pop up, and that will then hide that target. So you really have to hit each one. You just can't keep going after the same one time and time again. We now have our reset mechanism all connected up, which is fantastic. So this is where the sort of game starts. So as soon as you stand on these pressure points, but we've yet to put in the timer counter system. So we'll just step up and we can just fire. There's no difficulty on these target blocks at the moment. They are still very much like you can hit them. As long as you can hit them, you will fire the mechanism to cover them up. So taking a bit longer than I would anticipate. There we go. Right, so we have now got all lights lit up. All blocks are now covered, so looking pretty good. And then to reset, we just hit this button here and we see all of the pistons retract, and then we've got a pulse extender up here. So this just comes under, runs through all this spaghetti all the way through up to the top here, which is then on a pulse extender. And what happens up here is we have our redstone torch. It stops our dropper getting activated, but also stops any of the items going any further than here. And then whilst that's happening, all the redstone, or all of the items, doesn't necessarily have to be redstone, in the hoppers will tick round, get stuck here, and then when the pulse extender turns off, it turns off the redstone, or turns the redstone torch back on, and then this one kicks in and it automatically sort of holds the items here in their holding position. So that works really well, and everything's come together superbly, other than the fact that I still can't move around in creative very well. So that is our main sort of target or shooting alley done. Now we need to get the timer in and working. We now have our timer system in. So what happens is once this gets full, so up to 10, it triggers this comparator, which then sends a signal all the way back over here, and then we've got a T flip-flop. So when we stand on this pressure plate, it flips it the other way, and then when we get to the 10 score, it flips it back. And then what that does is it turns on and off this redstone line, which holds our items for counting. So we can show this now, so we'll just reset it, and it takes a few seconds for this. We'll still need to build an automatic one for that. So as soon as we step on here, we'll just speed this up. And there we go, we've hit 10, and that's turned that line on. And then we've got 60, so it took us 60 items. I'm not quite sure how long that is in hopper time, but we've got all of the target blocks covered, we've got our points up, and we now have a score system. So really good. Can put sort of a lectern here with a book on, so you can sort of keep a note of your scores. So what we do need to do is then to put this so it automatically resets it, so you're not having to take items out and put stuff back there. That will make this a lot cleaner as well. So let's get cracking with that. So I've been playing around with the timer system, slightly different to sort of original design, but seems to work nonetheless. So how I've done this is I've managed to take a comparator reading off of the chest, which extends this sticky piston, which then lets us know that there's still items in the chest, so you're not sort of constantly checking the chest or waiting. You can just wait till you see the lamp turn off, and then that allows all of our items to come out. Still need to put the item elevator in here, but that's not too much of an issue. And then down here we actually have the reset powers this sticky piston with a redstone block, and that actually just pushes it underneath this block here, which then allows or opens this hopper or stops it from being locked. So all in all, it seems to work quite well. And then this comparator here is taking a reading of this hopper, and basically as long as there's items going through it, it will keep this piston extended. So you only have to press the reset button once. So if we press it once, see the items are continuing to fall through into this hopper because the redstone block has moved. This is continuing to power our sticky piston with the redstone block on. And now that the hopper's empty and the chest is empty, it retracts along with this one because there's no more items in the chest. And then we don't have the light on here. So I think this is a really good bit of redstone by me, as I'm not an expert in any sense of the word, but this definitely seems to work really well and doesn't give any funky connections to anything else, which I'm pretty impressed with. So now we've just got our item elevator here to do, which is quite a simple one, and then we can have a play on the whole system. For the item elevator, we use a dropper system, and this is one designed by Tinker77, I believe. I'll put a link in the description. So we have a comparator going out into a block here, which then has a redstone torch on the back with two pistons sticking into each or facing each other, with a item of any description in there which just flips back and forth. And then we have a comparator taking that reading into another torch, and then that just goes up into a torch tower, and that will just push the items up through the dropper into this top hopper and then along back into the chest. So quite a simple design. Just going to run you through how this works once again. So once I can get this on a world download for everyone, you can have a look at it in a bit more detail. We'll cover it up, but I'll keep all the redstone intact. So to begin with, we have our on off master switch, so it just stops any accidental engagement of the machine. So if we flick that, then that lowers that, which allows the game to begin. Over this side we have our reset button, which controls all of the redstone on the lime green wall. That also controls our timer here. So we have our items up here in the hopper, which will fall down and get stopped from moving out of this chest, but then we'll also reset and auto refill. So as long as your chest is empty, so this redstone lamp is off, that means that the game can start to function, as there will be a constant supply of items. And if you've got sort of, well, you could have this fully backed up pretty much, or at least 50% backed up, so 25 stacks of items. This will work every time. And then to kickstart the game, all you have to do is stand on these pressure plates, so that will kickstart our system here. So that just lets the timer know, right, disengage the repeater up here so that the items can fall through into the chest, and then we can hit all of the targets. So let's try and do this as quickly as possible. I did have one situation from this one where it pushed the arrow down onto the target block beneath it. Only happened once during my whole testing, so just be conscious of that if you're building something similar in the future. And oh, there it is, one more. There we go. These are still on the easy setting, so as soon as this counter reached the end, we had a redstone, or the redstone turned on, sent it all the way over here, and we have our T flip-flop here, which would then re-engage our repeater up here. So not too bad, we got 70. At the back here we have our dropper item elevator. So I'm going to do a video about item elevators because I tried a few different varieties, but this one worked because it's at hopper speed. Some were just engaging, disengaging, making a hell of a racket, whereas this is really silent. And then over here, each of the light blue walls, they are a module for the target block, so you can put the piston on either side, as you can see here, or coming from the bottom or the top, whichever's going to work best. And this essentially works on a T flip-flop with a locking mechanism. So this green line just disengages this torch, it T flip-flops and works a treat. Now, to make it more difficult, as we saw earlier, you put more items in here. So we haven't had any, so super easy to hit these target blocks, but I will fill these up probably with 2 or 3 non-stackable items. And then again, back to the reset mechanism, we have this long delay timer. Can't quite remember what the official name is for these, and that just means that when we are resetting our counter up here, it will keep the redstone torch here off, so these will turn on and lock the dropper and lock this hopper here, so that all the items can go along. And then back here we just have more spaghetti, which is the counter system. So each time a module's hit, we have this rising edge monostable, which then hits the redstone, which then comes up here. And like we said, once it gets full, it follows all the way back down here and then turns this back on, which then locks the hopper. So that is it, and then reset, super easy, pretty quick on this end of the system. I guess with this, if there's a way to get a hopper minecart or something in there without it interacting anymore, or just spreading this out a bit so it works, that might be better if you're building this. But I wanted to stick with our original plan as closely as possible without sort of taking too much away. But that resets pretty quickly, and then if you're leaving, you can just lock the system so it doesn't kickstart it. It's not going to cause any problems when you get here. You can just start the game and straight away. So hopefully that makes sense and is super awesome. So I'm going to make this look really cool, and then we'll come back to it and we'll play one relatively hard game, let you see how it works in all its glory. This is what we start with, and with a click of the fingers, doesn't that look great? Hopefully it's not too dark for you on the video, but made it look pretty. So let's have a quick game. So we've now activated it, and we've got 3 unstackable items in each of the target modules. So let's go. Oh, that's terrible. That's close. Yep. Oh, that's again terrible. keep going too low. There we go. Oh wow, how did I miss that? Yes, come on. Oh, this is going to be a terrible score. I think someone's been playing with my bow. It's just not got the power. There we go, we got there eventually. Wow, really not doing great. There we go. All 10 lit up, all target blocks covered. Oh, I don't know if I want to look. Oh, that's absolutely terrible. I'm sorry, I've let myself down. Done a bad job. But that's a target or shooting alley, should I say. Put in a bit of features, make it look nice. So this will be on the world download for you to have a play with yourself. Also you can have a look at what's going on in the background. So let's just reset it for you. And then out here, just got a block to go around it all, so you can still see a lot of these modules. Obviously if you want to take some of this away, but realistically it's going to depend on how you want to put this together. The counter system up here is mumbo jumbo, so I'll put that on. You've got a pulse extender here, some monostables, a item elevator over on this side, and counter. So hopefully with the links that I'll put in the description and with a bit of common sense, this will all make it possible for you to design your own mini game. So hope you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's been of interest, and really hope that you'll come back and visit me again and let all of your favorite YouTubers know about this design. Be really appreciated, and look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of Jurassic's World.